Let's discuss the issues that the ruling party is faced with and what it should be focusing on. I'm joined now by political analyst Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast. Thank you so much. It's great to have you on the show. I want to start off with that issue, the ongoing issue of Minister Lindiwe Sisulu and her comments about the judiciary and the constitution. Of course, we had President Ramaphosa's office saying she apologized and retracted those comments. Minister Sisulu, in fact, saying, well, that's a lie. The presidency staying with its statement, and it seems now we're at a Mexican standoff. How do we move forward? And apart from many ANC members saying that the minister should be called before the Integrity Commission, what's the way forward to move past this very contentious issue?
Well, I get the sense that there have been people who have been putting pressure on the president that he needs to let go of the minister in question because her behavior is out of line. On the other hand, I think the president is well aware that if he does that, it might be a project gone wrong, that approach might backfire on him. We know what had happened a long time ago with former President Zuma, that also he was suspended, so to speak, and later on he regrouped with some people and bounced back. So the president, I think, is being circumspect, despite the fact that the pressure is being mounted on him. Because in as much as the president, in theory, has implicit power, on the other hand, the minister in practice has a strong personality, has implicit power, she's not a pushover. So it's going to be interesting how the president is going to maneuver around this one, because I think he's stuck between the rock and the hard place.
What do you make of analysis that this could be a push by Lindiwe Sisulu for greater power, especially in the top ranks of the party?
No, of course. In the bigger scheme of things, I think the rationale behind the piece was to basically pose a threat to the president. I think there is an element of opportunism, though, that she's taking advantage of some of the weaknesses of the ruling party. But at the same time, I think we need to congratulate her for a good job well done in terms of breaking ranks and speaking her mind, because there are things which are valid that she raises. For instance, she talks about political co-option and political assimilation for purposes of political conformity. And she makes reference to BBBE, that there have been some black people who are aligned to the ruling party that have emerged in the so-called New South Africa as the main beneficiaries of the fruits of democracy at the expense of the majority. I don't think that we can dismiss that argument. But of course, like I said, in the bigger scheme of things, I think this is about political maneuverability.
Let's move on to the other serious issues that the LEHOTLER is dealing with this weekend. State branch issues, renewal within the party, a roadmap to its elective conference, and all of that playing out amid questions from alliance parties around the efficacy of the LEHOTLER to do its work. What are we expecting from COSATU and the SACP this weekend?
Yeah, obviously, besides the public spec between the president and the minister, I think what will be on the agenda will be the issue of unpaid employees of the ANC, because that has been a thorny issue and that has, damaged the image of the ANC. Because on the one hand, the ANC says that it is a disciplined force of the left. On the other hand, it turns a blind eye to the plight of its own workers. So I think that issue will be on the agenda. But also, I think there are other issues that might be discussed. Like, for instance, we are going to have the upcoming State of the Nation address the speech by the Minister of Finance and so on. And there might be other issues like vaccination, COVID-19, and the fact that our economy has not been growing the way it should have. Issues of unemployment, inequality, poverty also will be at play.
I'm going to jump in there and go back specifically to this part of the question about alliance partners, saying that the LEHOTLER is no longer as effective a platform to drive issues, broad issues of governance. Instead, it's being manipulated by certain members to drive purely the issues of the party, Renewal not being one of those issues that is being driven effectively. Do you think that's fair commentary by alliance partners?
I think I understand where they come from, simply because there was a time after Polokwane when the alliance partners, SACP and COSATU, had a grip over the ANC or the president, and former President Zuma. And the case in point is the replacement of gear with a new growth path, and also other anti-poverty strategies. So they feel like they are no longer having that influence as the left within the broad church of the ANC. So I think that is the motivation behind that argument.
So it hasn't been a very good start to the year for the party, and that after a dismal showing at last year's local government elections. They're having significant financial problems as well, and I'm glad that you brought up earlier the issue of unpaid salaries, because that all plays into the issue of political party funding. And there are already rumours that not only the ANC but also other political parties are complaining about this act and how it's been put together, and wanting to make significant changes to that act. What do you think that spells for transparency in terms of political party funding, and what the public can expect to learn or know about where this funding comes from and how that influences service delivery, tenders awarded, graft and corruption?
Yeah, obviously what they are saying goes against democracy. Because, like you said earlier on, democracy is about transparency, it's about accountability, and so on. But it must be borne in mind that this act was not a brainchild of the ANC. It was introduced because of the pressure that was mounted by civil society. No wonder the ANC is critical of it. And the ANC attributes its financial problems to this act, that at the moment it is not able to pay its employees because now people don't want to contribute in public to the ANC, because people might ask questions when they do business with the government. No wonder the ANC is arguing that there is a need to refine this piece of legislation.
What do you think the ANC LEHOTLER this weekend should be focusing on? Some issue that perhaps has fallen by the wayside, that is in the public interest, in the party's interest, that they should be giving due focus to?
Yeah, obviously it needs to focus on strategic issues which are affecting the direction that the country is taking. Issues of poverty, unemployment, inequality, what is happening at ESCOM, the mismanagement of the economy. It needs to focus also on itself in terms of the, I would say, the war that has broken out, which plays itself in the public, you know, and also affects, you know, the operations of the state. We saw what had happened in terms of the fire that broke out in Parliament. Someone also broke in at the Constitutional Court. I think those things are happening as a result of the conflict that is broken out within the ANC that is having a negative spillover effect to the state machinery. But that is going to be very difficult to have those kinds of discussions in the light of the upcoming conference of the ANC, because I'm sure that everything will be examined through the lenses of factionalism at the moment until the dust has settled.
Political instability does seem to be the one consistent element that's been drawn from the past 2 years and will continue to plague South Africa in 2022 as we look at many issues needing to be decided within the party and at a government level as well. Thank you very much for speaking to us. That was political analyst Ntsikelelo Breakfast weighing in on this weekend's ANC NEC Lekgotla.